Ladies and gentlemen, the great deception has been initiated. The world that we're living in is a lie, and the great deception has commenced. People need to wake up. This is a call to the masses to wake up, because the events that are coming in the future, in the near future, I want to stress that point, in the near future, will deceive mankind in a way that it hasn't been deceived ever, in my opinion. We've been lied to many times. Many of our news is inauthentic and fabricated. But now the deception will drive home into people's souls, because now this great deception is targeting people's beliefs. You have no idea just how extensive this thing goes. This rabbit hole goes deep, ladies and gentlemen. Project Blue Beam. This is the next step in the deception. We're already being lied to right now. We all know what the lies are right now. Every single day we are told and we are fed this lie. It's to the point where most people are brainwashed. Most people don't see any other way. Most people intake that information as if it is the truth. This is the great deception, and the deception that is coming right now in the future will fool the masses. It's to the point where people who are even well-versed in what is going on, people who are aware, people are awake, people like me and you, will also be deceived, because this will have a tactile experience engaged in it. So without further ado, let's get going. Let's get started. This is the Great Deception. Please, the views that are going to be expressed in this video, a large amount of it is not necessarily what I believe, but it's in accordance to the information that I have gathered. So my job, my mission is to report in a way that's not necessarily biased, but in a way that we can uncover truth so that none of us get deceived. So there's a false flag ahead. As I said initially, we're living in a time right now where we're being deceived, but now the inorganic beings are getting desperate. They are getting desperate right now. They are looking for every avenue possible to gain control, to gain stakehold on the human spirit. So this is a time where we need to wake up. This is a time where we need to spread this information. That's why I advocate people, especially in the time that we're in right now, because there's a huge amount of censorship. So record the information that you come across. Store it, save it, or record it if you cannot store it, because Google's on a plight right now to remove any kind of information that an individual would want to come across or would need to come across in order to get a hold of such information. So we need to prepare. And part of preparation is storing all this information, because if we lose this information, then it's very difficult. It's really challenging to tackle this agenda. So let's get into the false flag right now. So there's a false flag right now, of course, pertaining to the virus and its origins. Okay, but let's get into the definition on what a false flag is. So a false flag is a misrepresentation of an event, right? And placing blame on an individual or a group for the occurrences. Okay, so it's when there's some kind of event that transpires, that happens, right? And then the narrative that's given for that event is that we're blaming a particular individual for that thing happening, or we're blaming a particular group for it. So false flags are deliberate and intentional to obscure the true identity of the perpetrators. So that is the reason as to why they do false flags, is to distract people, is to create some kind of fabricated information so that they steer our attention the wrong way. So while we're looking there, the real perpetrators are actually here. The real perpetrators are the ones that are disguised as the ones that are trying to help you, right? What did Malcolm X say? I'm going to paraphrase what he said because I don't remember directly. He said that if you are not careful, you will have yourself believing that the people that the media are portraying are actually, bad when they're portraying them to be bad, but in essence, they're not, because the media feeds us information that goes with a particular narrative. Anything that deviates from that narrative, the broadcasting channels and systems, the ones that have the most power, will ensure that they put aside that information, remove that information, censor that information, so that we don't get it as a general public. So it's a psyops, it's a psychological operation to steer and misdirect the public's attention, leading to the gradual adoption of their agenda. So wherever attention goes, energy flows. So wherever it is that they direct our attention, we co-create that reality just by attending to it with our conscious attention. That's how powerful we are as human beings. So various events that we witness on a global scale are false flags, diversions from the truth. I don't want to put in all kinds of information about that, but funny enough, yesterday was 9/11. Wasn't that like one of the greatest false flags? In Nazi Germany, Hitler also did a false flag in which he burned some kind of building and he blamed it on a particular group. I forgot which one. So false flags have been happening for quite some time now. We're in the middle of a transition right now that will lead to one of the biggest events in human recorded history. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, every single one of us, I'm speaking to you, every single one of us. We're in the midst, we're moving towards, we're transitioning into one of the most, I don't want to add an adjective that has a positive or negative connotation to it because it's just an event. It just is. It's how we perceive it through our mode of consciousness that will determine whether this event will be a positive or a negative one. But best believe both spectrums will be realized. It will have positive effects and it will have negative effects. But the individuals, the inorganic beings that are looking towards orchestrating these events to ensure that the results, the conclusions, the outcomes will be to their benefit. They're looking to steer these events in a negative way. But once the collective awakens, we don't all need to wake up. At least 30-40% of us need to wake up. And that will drive the engine for change. So that will add in the positive. We will wake up on a scale that has never been seen before. But in order for that to happen, something cataclysmic needs to transpire. So the greatest deception of our time that will lead to the masses, that will lead the masses to slaughter, right? So again, that is why it is of paramount importance to share this information so we can minimize the the people who may be led to slaughter. So the events will solidify the New World Order, the New World Religion, and it is none other than, Project Bluebeam. Okay, so let's get into it, right? Let's get into this even deeper. So before we look at any kind of conspiracy theory, right? we always have to pay attention to the predictive programming. See, the movies are a way in which they foretell the future in ways that do not directly make it obvious that this is a depiction of the future, but it becomes obvious the more conscious attention you place when you watch movies. You realize that they're not just entertaining you, they're actually programming you. They're getting you comfortable on a mental, on psychological level for upcoming events, to the point where you co-create them if you're watching unconsciously. So Spider-Man Homecoming had something similar to that. I just want to play a video with a guy explaining exactly what was transpiring in terms of Project Bluebeam, because okay, so this website will not open, unfortunately. I'm going to get into that specifically, but let's go into, yes, so where he's speaking about Spider-Man Far From Home, right? Apparently there was Project Bluebeam technologies utilized there. I watched the movie, but it was a while ago. I don't really recall. All I recall was that there was a villain that had projectile technologies that was able to project illusions onto people and furthermore control them because of the fact that they were seeing things that were not necessarily real, but they felt and saw it and perceived it as real. So for them, it was real. So it was used as a tool to control the masses and also try and stop Spider-Man. But let's get into this gentleman here explaining it furthermore.
Last weekend, I saw Spider-Man Far From Home, and I wrote some notes about it. So I enjoyed the movie. It was cool. It's basically a movie about Project Bluebeam. You know, the story from the 90s, the conspiracy theory that the government would stage a fake alien invasion, make it look really real with their holographic technology, and to usher in the New World Order. Well, that's pretty much what Spider-Man was about. Mysterio has these drones that all have projectors and weapons on them that can like all these different projectors create these mass illusions, and then also have weapons to cause the destruction that the illusion appears to make. It's pretty interesting. If you haven't seen it, there's even a re-release I think that came out August 29th that has an additional 4 minutes or something. So that's that. Now, watching it, I was concerned about the Mysterio character because as I watched it, I was like, wow, this has got to be based on something. And I was just, man, I hope it's not based on Trump and QAnon. Here were some things that I
Okay,
thought about while watching the film.
let's stop it there. All right, because it's venturing into subjects that deviate from what I'm speaking about now. So they were using technologies, right, to fool the masses and to ultimately try and get rid of Spider-Man. So Watchmen as well. Let me share my screen again. Um, that was a really long movie. I recall I watched it a while ago. Um, yeah, it's where did I put it? There we go. All right. So Watchmen, right? They also had some kind of Project Bluebeam event, right? So let me explain. Let's read this over. Here's a picture of it here of this staged alien invasion, right? Staged alien invasion. It's like this giant squid just wreaking havoc. So a stronger, loving world. So in the show, there are squids everywhere in Tulsa and presumably the rest of the world if the headlines about interdimensional attacks and hoaxes on newspapers like the News Frontiers Men are an indication. They occasionally rain down from the sky. Kids learn about them in school. So what's the deal? It all relates back to Ozymandias' grand scheme to avoid nuclear annihilation. and end the Cold War back in the 1980s. In a twist on the typical supervillain tropes of the superhero genre, Adrian Veidt, one of the smartest people in the Watchmen world, had concocted a plan that would, in his mind, be the only real way to prevent the doomsday clock from actually ticking down to midnight. By way of careful manipulation and liberal use of his public persona as a billionaire genius and former superhero, he set up what essentially amounted to a long con. He would stage a massive alien invasion with the help of experimental tech developed in secret by his company in New York City. The alien creature, giant squid-like monster, would teleport in seemingly from another dimension or planet and kill thousands upon thousands of people. Okay, right? So as we can see, the Watchmen as well, in the comic books, they depicted an alien invasion, and get a hold of the plot, right? Register the plot, shall you? Because if you register the plot, it has patterns trying to restore peace in the world because of some kind of global threat or fear, right? And the unification of people. So they need people to come together. They need people to unite under one world government, one world religion. So they need the masses to have a single cause and bring them together. What did Ronald Reagan say? Remember in his address that the address that he had with the UN, and he said that if only we had some kind of extraterrestrial threat, then somehow, some way that would unify people. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's the general sentiment of what he meant. I'm having ads pop up now. So think about this, okay? Register the patterns. The patterns are smeared into the movies. They're smeared into the global agenda, right? When you study the World Economic Forum and you look at the Great Reset, when you look at all these scenarios that they do, the Event 201, the SPARS pandemic, you know, they're scenarios that they're preparing us for. So whenever you see something in a movie, realize that you're not just being entertained. There's some kind of communication to another part of your mind that is unbiased, that just takes in information without verification of whether or not this is true or not. It just takes in information. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the subconscious mind. The way that the subconscious mind communicates is through images and symbols, right? So all these images and symbols that are being displayed in the movies are telling our collective subconscious mind, especially with movies that we watch on a collective scale. It's slowly downloading these images into the collective subconscious or unconscious mind of mankind. And what happens when that is fed to a certain level? We start to manifest it on the physical as a physical experience. Let's go back to the original screen. So we know very well that Project Bluebeam has set up the stage in terms of predictive programming. Okay, so let's go even deeper. So the Disclosure Project and ETs. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you know Stephen Greer. Okay, I'm not too certain if a lot of you know Dr. Werner von Braun. I'm not too certain if I'm pronouncing that correct. He's a German person. So this is the largest collection of information regarding the existence of UFOs, extraterrestrial intelligence, advanced energies, and propelling systems. So the Disclosure Project was initiated by Stephen Greer, right, in which he had hundreds of witnesses, right, people having testimonies. It's the website that I was actually trying to access when I was sharing my screen, but it seems as if it's not working, right? It's closed. But as you can see here, just in the caption, 100 witnesses only represents a testimony of only 100 witnesses of the more than 400 identified to date. So when I opened that website, it had like just a whole page of military personnels, uh, politicians, and then a lot of them were whistleblowers. They're not actually politicians now, but they're retired. Military personnel that were retired as well, that were whistleblowers. Just many individuals that were involved in these secret projects, the space programs, and many other operations that were designed to investigate extraterrestrial technologies and extraterrestrial existence. So all of them came together in this event, right? They all came together in this event, and they provided testimonies for the existence of aliens, right? Let's open the power slide back. So Stephen Greer gathered over 20 military intelligence, government, corporate, and scientific witnesses to testify at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. This was in 2001. The conference was over 4 hours long, and this is available on YouTube as well. You can catch a glimpse of it. I'm pretty sure you're not going to watch all 4 hours, but you can watch a good chunk, and you can get a little bit of a grasp of the reality that they're putting out there, that extraterrestrials, aliens exist. So the conference was over 4 hours long, and the overwhelming evidence made the UFO phenomenon more of a reality than ever before. See, events like this led to the Black Vaults, and okay, no, the Black Vault was actually before this, but this event led to the disclosure, the declassification of alien files by the CIA. But of course, if you look at the information there, they don't provide hard evidence. They're still, funny enough, preparing us. They don't feel as if we're completely ready. But very soon, they will initiate all their plans. So certain members of the US government have known about this even before the 50s. Okay, even before the 50s, they knew about the existence of extraterrestrials, the existence of extraterrestrial technologies. If you look at the Roswell incident, how they literally, an individual caught a glimpse of alien life that had just crashed near New Roswell, Mexico, and he discovered the body in this vehicle. Two bodies, actually. One died and one was still alive, and then the military came in and took the body, and then they had that individual take pictures of some kind of fall-like material and had him say that no,